think from a creator standpoint, at least, speaking for myself, if I were ever to come across this situation, most of the times I'd be like super open to the company using my video. I just want to be fairly compensated for it, right? So a lot of times I wouldn't be approaching them saying like, hey, like you need to take this down right now, or in like a super aggressive term. It would be more of like, hey, I want to form a deal out of this, right? I want to make this into like a partnership. Like, hey, let's talk here. How would you recommend creators approaching this, right? Let's say this happened, like all of a sudden you see one of your videos running as like a sponsored post on TikTok, and then you click through and your video is on someone's website. How do you recommend going about this? Like, do you send a cease and desist letter first? Should you reach out first with just like a simple email? What would your approach be?
So actually, this is something that I teach in my course. So that's like super cool that you're talking about this, because that means that it's helpful, right? So the way that I recommend creators, approach a situation like this is, first you got to assess. You have to assess the situation and figure out, okay, what of my content's being used, how much of it's being used, and do I want to work with this brand, right? Because that, I think, really informs your strategy. Like, how much do you really want to like get confrontational or not, right? If it's even worth your time. So to me, I ask those questions first, and then from there we kind of like figure out what's the best approach. Assuming you want to work with this brand, because clearly you created content for them. So in my mind, I'm thinking, yeah, there's an opportunity here. I always recommend that we try to take the, hey, saw that you utilize my content. I know that we've worked together in the past or something like that, because maybe it might have been on a gifted basis or something, or maybe we haven't. And this sounds like a really great opportunity to get on the phone and talk about setting up a deal, a paid deal, right? And we could talk a little bit about, the usage of this, piece of content here as well on the call, but I really think this would be a great time to talk about that. I think approaching it that way gets you a lot further with the brand than it is to just scorch the earth and just say, cease and desist, give me my money, and all that stuff. You have to remember that everybody that's on these, marketing teams and advertising teams are not lawyers. And they're just doing their best. They're human. They're not perfect. And sometimes they know that what they're doing, and sometimes they don't. But regardless, do you really want to scorch the earth every time somebody's using your work? No. It doesn't make sense. It's not a way to sustainably do business as a creator long term. So we try that approach first before escalating it further and saying, cease and desist, this is like ridiculous, and pay us our money. So that's usually the path, before really like scorching the earth, because again, I want to see my creators win. I don't want them to be seen as like little jerks on the internet that are just sending, nasty grams to brands every time they see their content being reposted. It's just not worth it.
Right. I absolutely agree with that approach too. And I feel like a lot of those situations could very likely turn into partnerships, right? Because you mentioned it yourself. It seems like both sides want to work together. There's just no communication that's happening, right? The creator made content with a certain brand, with a certain product. The brand clearly liked it enough to post it, put it on their website, run ads with it, whatever it might be. And now it's just figuring out, okay, how can we make something work here? But then to your point, if that initial communication happens and nothing comes out of it, then it seems like the next step for you would be that cease and desist letter, correct?
Yeah, it would be. And, depending on how bad or how toxic or hostile the situation is, then, the other thing to do without even having to reach the brand again, because maybe it's not looking like payment is likely either, is do a DMCA takedown. You don't need an attorney to do that. And you just get the content taken down through the platform, basically. So you don't even have to like talk to them about taking it down. They'll just do it for you.
I see. Yeah, that's probably one of the easier things that a creator can do.